Welcome to GFD Growth Stories, where we spotlight the disruptors rewriting what growth looks like from Dubai. Today's guest took a leap few would dare, leaving a thriving digital career in the UK to start something bold and from scratch in the UAE. Sudipt Shah is the founder and CEO of Digital of Things, a UX consultancy helping businesses across MENA design smarter, test faster, and grow with real user insight. He's also the founder of UserQ, the region's first remote testing platform tailored to the Dubai market. From idea to innovation lab, Sudipt's journey is a fantastic look at what happens when a visionary chooses Dubai and builds for the region, not just in it. Sudipt, welcome to the podcast. We're so thankful to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we'd really like to know your business. How did it start and how did you grow from Dubai?
Mm-hmm. Where would you like me to start?
Right at the very beginning. So you've left the UK and you've come across, landed in Dubai. What was your first thoughts?
I fell in love with the speed of growth of Dubai. Actually, I've been visiting since year 2000 and I visited every single year. And I just saw the speed of growth in Dubai. And while I was in the UK, I thought, this is the country or this is the city I need to be in. This is where it's happening. It took me a long time to move. So 16 years from my first visit. Then I finally did it in 2016 and I landed here. The aim was always to start my own thing. I wrote my business plan actually on the plane journey here when I moved. And the idea was to experience the market for 2 years and then build up a network, understand the culture, and then launch something myself. Which is what I did.
That is incredible. I think we're all maybe a bit guilty of writing ideas on a napkin, but very rarely does anyone see it through. So it's incredible that you took that first step.
Thank you. It wasn't easy.
Never is.
Happened, yeah.
Never is. That's amazing. So your initial idea for the business, what was the problem you were looking to solve?
So when I first came to this country and to settle here, what I noticed was the digital maturity of the region was slightly lower than what I'm used to back in the UK. At that time, and remember this is about 9 years ago now, e-commerce wasn't fully taken off. A lot of businesses weren't digital or they weren't that mature from a digital perspective. But the appetite was there and the growth was there. And what I noticed was there's a gap of great user experiences, and this is what the customers will demand in the future. So as more and more expats come, because Dubai is becoming so attractive, a lot of people will come, they'll start demanding much, much better experiences. So I thought to myself, companies won't be able to stay complacent anymore. They have to kind of move forward. And the biggest gap would be UX and understanding the consumers. So I thought, okay, the best way to do this is have a consultancy that can help companies deliver great experiences for their own customers. Research was a big part because when I first came, I was shocked by the diversity of the nation. You've got 200 nationalities, relatively young population, and there's so many different nuances culturally. The only way you can design a good experience is understand who the customers are and then design accordingly. So in the end, I formed a research and UX agency, and that's what I've been doing for the past 7 years now.
Yeah, called Digital of Things. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know anything about UX, and I doubt a lot of our listeners do either, not to impinge on our listeners, but please could you explain in a bit more detail your business and UX as a whole?
Sure, okay. So UX is, stands for user experience, and it's how the user experiences the product or the service digitally. So it could be apps, websites, it could be kiosks, car operating systems. So what you're trying to do is deliver a great seamless experience for customers. And the way I say is, how can you make them do the task that they're trying to do in the most efficient way and the most seamless way where they remember it? So that's what good UX is. And usually it's not seen. It's kind of just if things work. What's your favorite apps that you use?
Instagram.
Okay, fine, right? Instagram, any others?
Yes, I'm on Kareem a lot.
Yeah, right.
I'm on Talabat a lot. I think that probably says a lot about Dubai life, to be honest.
Exactly. And all of these apps, they're great because you can do things very quickly, order things very quickly. Even Instagram, they keep you hooked by watching the reels and things. So it's all part of the experience. It's all part of UX. So that's what we help customers do here. We consult with them what's the end objectives, and how do we make that happen from a much better kind of interface and experience. A big part of that is understanding the customer, because different customers want different things. They've got different habits, different behaviors. The more you understand them, the better you can design the experience. A lot of people, try and do the UX or UI without speaking to customers, without validating. And it's fascinating when you see, when you speak to your users. Whatever you design, you might think it's right, but you've been working on it for about 4 months, 6 months. But when you put it in front of the user, they just use it in a completely different way. So it's best to understand the users first by doing some research and testing, and then design the experience. That's what we do as a company.
Yeah, so it seems like there's a whole psychology behind it also. So give us some insider information. So do we all behave pretty similarly? And is there any particular demographics who they're going to pretty much do X, Y, and Z?
Correct. So we've, because we've been in business for about 7 years, we've done so many different studies. We've done so many different user testing sessions. We've spoken to, I think we've done 3,000 hours of research with people, actually face to face. So you pick up a lot. You pick up a lot of different nationalities, different genders, how they use it. And it's, I'm not being stereotypical. It's just, there are certain nuances that you got to be careful of. I'll give you some examples. Let's just have a look. So generally, let's take gender, right? And this is not for everyone. I'm generalizing here, but there's things about how, let's say, the female gender, how they use apps, right? And how men use it. Men like to tinker. They just like to play with it. It's like when you buy IKEA furniture, right? They won't read the manual. They just start using the screwdriver and start tinkering. It's just a mental thing. Yeah. Jump right in. Whereas generally others would prefer to read the instructions and then process the information and then do it in a logical way, right? So like that, it's the same things with apps, right? A lot of people want to just tinker around and play with it and try and break things and try and sign up or whatever it may be. Whereas others actually want the onboarding screens. Let me read everything. Let me understand it before I tinker. So it's these kind of small nuances that you got to look at. So if you're designing apps specifically for a specific gender or a nationality, there are things you can do to help it make it better. Even nationalities, again, I don't want to generalize, but it's just the cultural upbringing, right?
That's fine. So if we're both from the UK originally, so if we say UK, what are their typical habits?
Sure. And again, if you look at UK from the history of the UK, right, and where that's going, it's a very, let's say, individualistic country, right? Whereas here is a collective society, right? It's slightly different. So over there, it's about me and what am I getting from, let's say, websites and things. So in the UK, what we've noticed is things like they want incentives now, right? So can I get 10% off now if I buy this? Can I get instant cashback, right? So it's a bit more about now rather than saving up for longer term.
Yeah.
So again, loyalty plays a part. There's lots of different things for nationality. It's just the behaviors and the culture for the last,
that the data's showing.
Yeah, exactly. So again, UK, I think what we've seen is because of the speed of life, they're rushing to see things, right? Where if they go on a website, they can't find something, they'll drop it. Right.
Okay.
Because they're just quickly rushing around.
Critical to know if you are the website owner.
Yeah, and if you're targeting that specific type. Whereas other nationalities, they like to understand everything first. They like to read everything slowly, understand what we call, let's say, the truth, and then make a decision. So again, there's lots of little nuances. And again, I'm painting everyone with the same brush. That's not the right thing to do. But if you're looking at majority,
just what the data shows.
Exactly. A couple of other examples. Let's say you're targeting an app for mothers or mothers of newborns. Yep. Okay. Usually they're on their mobile phone. They usually have the kid on their arm. Okay. So they're one-handed, and don't put things that are far away from the screen. Don't put out of reach, for example. So those little things really help with the experience. If you know that a new mother with a newborn has a kid on their shoulder, and you have an app that caters for those only, then design it accordingly. Understand the users.
So you'd want to keep the buttons where the thumb is,
exactly.
so they can tap.
Yeah, the major buttons. Yeah, the major quick speed.
That
buttons.
is such a niche insight that just makes so much sense.
It does. Yeah. It's these small things that really help the experience. People,
definitely.
and like what I mentioned before is you don't see it. Like these kind of things just happen, and when you enjoy using apps, people don't realize the effort that goes into tweaking and optimizing these small things that make the experience better.
So it's kind of a thankless task in that nobody notices too much when it's a good experience. They just get to where they want to be and they move on with their lives. However, if it's a bad experience, they will certainly remember it. And that is very, very important for businesses. Like they need to be on the right side of user experience.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. What you just said is completely right. If you've got a bad experience, they'll shout about it more.
Yes.
They'll tell people more. They'll put it on social media. Or
we love to moan. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So so if you provide a bad experience, first of all, it will spread if they do post it anywhere. The second thing is they won't use it again. And the reason for that now, there's so many competitor apps. It's quite not easy, but the barriers to entry are quite easy, right? So if you look at food delivery in the UAE, we've got so many, right? We've got Careem, we've got Talabat, there was Zomato at that point, we've got Deliveroo. So there's so many apps that if you've got a bad experience in one, you'll just switch and go somewhere else, right? So again, the businesses will lose a lot of loyalty and money from that.
I was going to say, not just loyalty, like the revenue as well.
Exactly, they'll dip because there are other ways. And the problem is people are becoming less forgiving of bad experiences right now, right? Again, going back to what I said, when I came to this country, there was a limitation of the number of websites and apps out there. So at that time, I think e-commerce, there's only like Souk.com, for example. Amazon wasn't here. They bought Souk afterwards. But at that time, if there's less competition, then you can afford to have a bad experience because people will kind of stick through it to get it done.
Not got any options.
Yeah, they got. But now there's so many different competitors out there. There's so many ways to switch, and it's easy for people to switch, that having a bad experience is not an excuse. You can't justify it. Businesses that are complacent on that, they'll lose out. They have to keep polishing their experiences.
It sounds to me that user experience is not something that you can overlook. However, I'm sure many businesses focus very hard on the bottom line, social media, SEO, performance marketing, all the key marketing milestones, but then forget you spent a lot of time and money driving these people to your site only for them to drop off for various reasons.
Correct.
And then that valuable investment that you've made is worth less and less and less because they're not converting.
Yeah, completely right. We had a client who was a big advertiser, and they sell advertising to other e-commerce brands, and they actually used us to improve their customers' websites. Wow. And they paid us. It wasn't through their end customer. And we said, why are you paying us rather than the client? And they said, because they spend a lot of money with us. And if they're not converting, it's not a funnel issue. It's not an awareness issue. It's not getting people on the site. It's converting them, which is a UX problem.
Right. Wow. So that was a B2B case as well as B2C application.
Exactly. And they said that if we improve that conversion, then they'll spend more money with us because the ROI on advertising or marketing will come back to them, right? The ROIs will increase, the conversion rates will increase, revenues will increase. So for them, it's super important that their client's UX was smooth and seamless. So we help them out with those.
Okay, so I feel like we're often. Sorry, I'm gonna re-say that. So there's often headlines between the difference between millennials and Gen Z. So the two age groups that grew up with the internet, like millennials halfway through their life, I'd say, and then Gen Z like fully. Internet focused. Yeah. So I would love to know some real life data and insights in the differences you see between those two age groups.
Okay, you're putting me on the spot there for my memory of stats. I do have some interesting insights actually. So if you look at like the Gen Zs, they, like you said, they grew up on mobile, right? They didn't actually grow up on desktop. I grew up on, I'm showing my age now, but like the dial-up, the modem.
Me too. That noise is forever in my head, forever.
That kind of stuff,
Yes.
And we had the patience to sit through things. We had the patience to sit through 30 seconds of a page loading, and we interacted with typically a mouse and a keyboard. That's how we grew up, right? Whereas the Gen Zs are completely different. They're growing up on mobiles, they're scrolling. There's different interactions. They're used to the kind of the reels now. They're used to the endless scrolling. So like that, you've got to understand the trends that they're facing nowadays, right? And you've got to, I'll back up a bit. So you've got to understand how they interact with machines, with the digital system, and then tailor it accordingly. There are lots of things. So if, let's say, Gen Zs are predominantly on their mobile, okay, so you've got to design for mobile first, if that's, if that can be done. But also you've got to look at a few other things. Let's say videos, right? You can't have autoplay videos or audio.
No, yeah.
So on desktop, it's okay. People might have headphones or they have it switched off anyway, right? But mobile is always there, and you don't want something just to.
No, it's a jarring experience,
Exactly,
isn't it? When you're used to like that seamless scroll execution.
Exactly. Yeah. Even here, it's a bit different because everyone's got data. But let's say you talk about other countries, data is actually a privilege. So don't have things like massive videos and images that will take up their data when they're using mobile phones, right? It's not a problem in this country, but there are other countries that, if you're designing for mobile, think about how they're going to use it and what context.
Yeah,
So Gen Zs we found are obviously less patient than the older generation. And again, it's just the way they've grown up in the world. They also, if you realize it, they are bombarded with information.
Yeah.
So they're very distracted. Right, so if you're on
ADHD is on the rise.
Oh yeah, exactly right. If let's say
using-
they're on an app, your app, and you think they're going to spend 10 minutes on their app, really reading everything, understanding in detail, going back and forward. They've got LinkedIn messages, Instagram messages, Snapchat. They've got WhatsApp. They've got Slack.
Notifications are relentless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And something will just trigger them to check something else, which means you've lost them. So they're very distracted. So the way you design for Gen Zs, again, has to be different, has to be very quick, smooth, get things done very, very efficiently. So there's lots of little things like that, the differences between Gen Zs and the millennials. There's also a few others that we found generally. They're okay to give information to a company and data, but they want to see something done with it. If you just give it to them, if a Gen Z just gives it to a business and they don't do anything with it, that's really bad.
So they're expecting personalization. Wow. Okay.
So, and if you think about some of the cool apps nowadays, let's say, do you use Spotify?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you like Spotify?
Because it has all the tracks that I want, all the Beyonce I can lay my hands on.
And I mean, it's curated as well, right? There's a lot of curation. So because it learns from you and you're okay to give that information.
Yes.
Same as when you're on board with, let's say, Apple Music and they ask you what music do you like. You don't mind giving that information because you trust the company's going to give you back personalized experience. Most businesses will take in loads of data, more than they need, and don't do anything with it. And that will frustrate Gen Zs, the younger generation. They don't mind giving it, but they just want something back.
It's interesting because I saw the value of personalization, and this was an offline example. I'll tell it anyway. This was in the UK. I'm going to say maybe early 2000s. And it was so simple, but it was so effective. Coca-Cola started putting names on bottles, and people went wild for it. It's exactly the same product. But it could possibly have your name on it, but you still drink the drink and put the bottle in the bin. Like, what are you going to do with that bottle? Nothing. But it was the novelty of it.
Exactly right.
And that really, really ignited something in people. And I'm sure, I don't know the exact stats, but I'm sure the uplift was astronomical just on such a simple thing. So I think my point really is that with UX and with understanding human psychology, it can really help your business make monumental leaps over, not to put down your profession, very simple adjustments in, how your website looks or how you are speaking to your clientele.
Oh yeah, even I think what most businesses don't realize is the small tweaks, like you said, have massive impact. Even small things that you don't realize. As long as you've got the mass volumes of people coming, small tweaks like this have a huge impact on bottom line and revenue, top line. I remember when I was working in a previous job in the UK, I had to literally move one button down, and there's 4 buttons, and I moved it from top to second. Sales dropped 40%.
Oh, no.
Just one button,
wow.
Just go down one step, that much impact it had. So I see this all the time.
And it can go either way. Like, it can skyrocket or it can
go down.
plummet.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah. And I think more businesses should realize the impact of UX and what it has. I think this region's it's good. The appetite's there to improve that as we go through. But
definitely. I feel like in Dubai, there's definitely an appetite for excellence and to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
And again, like it's a very fast-paced culture here. We want everything yesterday. And so having that seamless experience from start to finish really makes you enjoy a brand. Like even if it's just that 1% more, it's 1% more than they enjoy going on your competitor's site or using your competitor's app. And if everyone is feeling that 1% more inclination towards your brand, it can have like, you know, astronomical effects
For sure,
on
yeah,
revenue.
definitely.
Amazing. I would really like to know what is one of your favorite clients, or maybe a case where your business really made an impact.
Oh wow, okay, that's going back 7 years now through the history. Favorite clients, let's see. We love clients that understand the process and the impact of good UX and good research. We have clients like this where, you know, they've come from, let's say, another country and they want to build out that particular platform or app for wherever they're working right now. And when you meet clients like that, that understand that it's not a quick and easy job. It's not, 2 weeks of just revamp. There's a whole process behind it they have to go through. We love working with those type of clients because they understand how long it takes, but they also understand that this will have a massive impact if we get it right. So those are our favorite types of clients. And there's a few. I mean, we've worked with some massive brands in this region where they are like that, you know, and they get it. They get that it takes time and let's do it properly.
And you can't tell us any names because no one wants to give away their secrets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we worked with a few, but I can't give away the exact names.
Yeah.
But there's some
no one wants to give you away. You're their secret weapon.
Exactly. No.
Brilliant. I would love to know more about the process. This is so interesting to me. So if I'm a client coming to you, I'll be a shop selling sweets.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to you and saying, I have set up my new website. It's working well. I'm getting a lot of revenue. I'm based in Dubai. Everything seems to be okay. However, summer's coming and my sales maybe are going to start to drop. So I would love to have your expertise and you to consult me.
Right. On UX and...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So typically there is a process that we go through. Now, it does change depending on the client, depending on budgets and timelines and things like this. But generally, when we redesign apps or we optimize or websites, we go through different stages. The first stage is usually what we call discovery. And this is where we're trying to find out everything about their business. There's 3 things that we try and find out. One is about their business. So what's the background? How does it work? What's your KPIs? What's your objectives? Because each objective is different. Yeah. A lot of clients, sometimes they might not really care about revenue, but they want engagement, or they want repeat users, or they want people to, you know, come back and share the work, with everybody else. So we understand what the objectives are. We understand the business background, the processes, the rules for that kind of thing. Then we understand technology. So what are they using right now? What is feasible to change? Because sometimes, you know, clients do want everything. Yes. But then we say to them, your tech is not ready for that.
So is that the system that they're using for currently. Orders?
Exactly.
And, yes.
Yeah, there could be limitations around that. So we try and understand what the limitations are. I'll give you a perfect example. We worked for an automotive company, and they wanted to digitize a lot of their offline processes on this app. And that's what we did. So we understood where the business was, what they're trying to do. Then we spoke to tech as well. And sometimes it's not ready from an operational point of view or a tech point of view. So even if you want to digitize a part of the business, it might not be ready for that right now. And it's nothing to do with UX UI. It just means that operationally it's not ready, or APIs are not built, or the tech stack doesn't allow it. So we understand the business, we understand the tech, and the last one, obviously the most important, is understand the users. Who are your users? What different types of users do you have? And we do a lot of activities for all of these 3. It could be stakeholder workshops, competitor benchmarking, user research, testing. So we do all of that at the beginning. Then we start shaping the solution. So we start saying, okay, this is some visual concepts for your app. This is what we call the information architecture, so how your app is organized, or your website's organized. And once we get through that period, then we start the designs and the actual wireframes and visual designs. So that's usually the process. We tweak it depending on the client and the speed and the timelines and budgets.
Definitely. And the tech that they're working with at that moment in time.
Yeah. And while we're designing, we don't just give you a ta-da moment. what we try and do is validate with users as we're going through. So sometimes we might not be sure that this is the right way to do something. A lot of projects that we work on are very complex. They're complex UX, complex UI. It's not the straightforward things. So sometimes we have two different ways of solving it. What we like to do is test it out with users, straight away. So during that whole process, we're trying to validate with customers. So at the end of it, we know that it's already been...
it's not assumptions, it's all data backed.
All data
and
backed,
how customers are feeling at that exact moment in time.
Yeah.
Because as we've talked about, trends change over time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe people wouldn't be that impressed about a Coke bottle with a name on it nowadays, but I know I was back in
exactly.
the day.
Yeah, you have to keep up to date
Things
with it.
change. Yeah, absolutely. So do you have some top tips for people who will say they've just launched their website and they're keen not to make these common pitfalls? So what would you advise them that they look at?
Okay, a great question. I think, first of all, really, really understand the customer. Get in front of them, talk to them as much as you can, because how you design and how users actually behave is two separate things completely. And we've seen it a lot, so really get in front of the customer. The more you speak to them, the better it is. That's number one. And that's what I think the biggest mistake people make. They don't speak to the customers.
They just assume?
Yeah, they assume. Yeah. They take stakeholders' opinions more than the actual user itself.
Yeah. Which, when you say it out loud, it seems crazy, doesn't
exactly.
it? But,
but it is what it is right now. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest pitfall there. The other thing is, a lot of people try and put everything on websites, apps. They ask for lots and lots of fields on forms. I would go the other way and say, what don't I need? And cancel it out, right? The more you are minimal, the more you focus, the better. I've seen so many forms with so many fields, and when you actually go and ask them, what is this field for? Where would you ever use this? And they don't have any idea. So why are you asking customers to fill out all this information?
Creating a friction point for no use, again,
exactly.
seems pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward,
yeah.
So there's and again, I understand there's compliance, there's legal, but there are ways you can fight that and say, okay, let's get rid of this. I'll give you a real life example that we did in digital things. We have eye tracking equipment that tracks where your eyes are looking on websites, and there was a bank that had a checkbox to agree to something, and they plastered a lot of text of terms and conditions next to this checkbox. And we said, do you need this information? Can't you just have it as a link? They're like, no, we need it. We have to have it from a compliance point of view, which I understand. When we did the heat maps, no one looked at any of the words ever. They just looked at the checkbox.
Yeah.
So then the question is, if no one's reading it, is it actually compliant?
Yeah.
Like if not one person's eyes went onto these wording because it's too long, and they just looked at the checkbox to click it, then are they really complying or not? So, there's things like that which you can debate and say, okay, there are different ways of doing it. So I think businesses think our customers are going to come on our website or app, they're going to read every single word, right, in detail. They're going to spend time doing it all. And we need to have all these fields because we're going to do some amazing marketing campaigns later. We're going to do some crazy personalization. Yeah. Never happens. No. So I would say the pitfalls are, try and to avoid the pitfall, try and strip it down a bit. See what do you exactly need, and how do you make that seamless experience for the customer. A couple of examples. When I was in the UK, and you probably experienced this, when you fill in your billing address and from your credit card, do you know why that you have to fill that in?
I always thought it was because it's linked to your card.
Yeah, so they're checking checking for fraud,
yes,
right?
Okay.
But do you know what they check?
No.
Just the postcode.
Oh.
Not the address, not the town, not anything. They check the digits of your postcode. At that time, they were.
Right. So many wasted fields.
Exactly. Why are you asking me to fill in all this, address line 1, address line 2?
Because this is usually after you've already put in the delivery address.
Exactly.
So this is another stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are, easy ways to. I mean, you have to have some things for compliance, but
sure.
I would debate as much as you can internally and say, do we need this information? Do we need these fields? That's how you make the seamless, easy experiences,
So I would love to have your opinion, because I'm sure this is a common argument probably between you and clients, possibly. Aesthetics versus UX.
Okay, yeah.
Can they coexist? Because I know a lot of clients really favor we'll say like the Pinterest images and having animation and movement and not really thinking about what if someone needs to get to this site and get key pieces of information.
Correct, yes. I think they should both exist together, I think. In this region, people do put a lot of emphasis on aesthetics. And again, I mean, look around, Dubai looks beautiful. Like it's just part of our DNA now as we live here, right? So now people want things to look really, really good. You know, most clients that we speak to, when we say, what's your inspiration from a website or app perspective, they always say Apple. That was always the thing. We want to be like Apple. We want to be like Apple, which is great. But, you know, Apple's got billions of dollars of investments in UX and design. So aesthetic is really important here from a client point of view. From a user point of view, it is important because that's how it does form a part of the experience. But there is a balance to be had. Do you prefer something that looks amazing but is terrible to use? Or do you prefer something that looks mediocre and you can get your task done very quickly? Most people would prefer this side. So there is a balance. And what I mean by that is that, you know, people say, oh, this website looks really cool. There's animation, there's like things going around. Then you realize you're waiting 10 seconds for something to load. It's slow on mobile. It doesn't work properly. So you might look cool, but is that what you're trying to do? Or you're trying to get people to do their tasks very quickly? And most people will appreciate the task rather than the aesthetics. But you do need to balance. It can't look really bad.
No.
If it looks ugly, then it just doesn't look professional. And, you know?
For sure. For sure. Nobody wants ugly websites.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've definitely come across a lot of cases, more and more, where it starts with a video, which is great the first time you go to the website. Maybe that's, you know, you watch the video and you're like, okay, cool. But when you're going back to the same website, you're just like, thinking to yourself, I've already seen this video, like, please, I need to get to X, Y, Z page. So again, like thinking about that first impression, but then if you want a repeat customer, what does that look like in that journey? There's
a lot of other things to think about. Like if you're targeting a specific segment, like the luxury, high affluent, they want that premium look and feel, you know? A couple of other examples. Let's say you're trying to sell, it depends on the products you're selling. So say you're selling something that is a high value item or quite luxurious. You want to spend more time selling the product. So then videos, pictures, beautiful images that sell the product is important. But let's say you're trying to sell a standard commodity product like a toaster or a bottle or whatever it may be. People don't really care. They don't want to see a 360 degree. They just want to buy the thing. What they probably care more about is a comparison feature of these things. You know, can I compare this to this and what are the features for it rather than sell me the product? So again, it depends on what you're trying to sell. If you're selling, I don't know, luxury watches, then it might be a case that you use some great aesthetics and great designs and visuals and videos. Whereas other commodity products you can sell very quickly, and the idea is to get them through the journey very quickly.
And I guess that goes to the stage one that you were discussing about getting to know the brand itself and also the client. So if it's a luxury experience, you may take the approach of trying to mimic more the in-store experience. So if we go with luxury watches, you'd go into the store, you'd look at several different watches. It's more of like a slow Saturday afternoon. You probably don't have children and you're enjoying that experience. And so equally, if you're looking online, you are probably looking at to consider this purchase for, you know, what it is, a big investment, as opposed to where, you know, if your kettle's broke or your toaster's broke, like you have said, and you really just want to quickly replace it, and, you know, you've got a certain price range in mind, probably the same price range of your original kettle, and you want to go grab it off the shelf and get out. It's really making sure that that mirrors the offline with the online.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and it's very good. It's we actually did a project for a big supermarket chain here in UAE, a huge one. You probably guess which one it is. But we actually helped with their categories on their website. And we actually went to the physical store to see how they categorize in the store. You know, where are items and how do they club it together? Is it under beverages or dairy? And how does everything fit and where does everything lie? Because if people are going shopping on a regular basis, mentally, they've already got this model. So your online experience should match that. So your categories or what you call things should be very similar to the physical. So we help them match the physical and the online. It's super important as a user's mental model.
Yeah. So Dubai is known for its scale. So what would you say helped you not just grow faster, but grow smarter?
Oh, it's okay. Good question. I think one of the reasons I wanted to set up in Dubai is that the speed of growth. Like they've got an appetite to be the best in everything, and you can see the government setting up the whole infrastructure to make that happen, as well as the investments that are going in. So as part of that, the kind of ambition of Dubai, my company played really well into it, and it was a timing thing. Dubai was growing at that time, so we kind of grew with it, and it was the right time for the right place. I always said to people, if I did this in London, I would have failed, I think.
Really? Oh no.
Yeah.
So do you think it's the fact that Dubai is very focused on being digital first that enabled you to just invest, put that idea out there and have it supported by so many businesses that have entrusted you?
Yeah, I think so. And what I noticed is in a country like Dubai, they give you a chance as a small player. And I was literally 1 month old as a company. And we had some of the biggest names using us, because we had something that we were providing that they couldn't get anywhere else. And it wasn't about show me your years of history, show me your ISO certifications and this certification. It was more like, we want to do something to grow. Can you help us? Yes. Okay, we'll use you and we trust you. So it was all about trust and relationships, which I love, and that really helped me grow initially. And once you've got the first 3 or 4 case studies, then you're kind of rolling, because you can use these for the future. But I think everyone being on the same page with ambition and growth and speed and scale, it helps because everyone's trying to help you out. Everyone's trying to work with you. I've made so much partnerships as well, not just clients, but actual partnerships where they said, let's work together, let's do this service together. And that's really helped. It really helped initially, actually, because we could actually go to these clients with a whole package. And it wasn't a case of there's lots of red tape, there's lots of processes you have to go through. It's more about everyone wants things done. Let's just get it done, and who's best to do it. So that really helped me to grow.
Yeah, that curious nature of Dubai to, okay, I see your product, let me test. And then again, obviously the results speak for itself
Exactly,
with your product.
That really helped.
So you've built a UX lab, SaaS service, and a consultancy. So what out of those 3 really was the most challenging, would you say?
Oh my God. All of them.
You can say all, I know.
All of them.
You can say all.
No, it was, they're all challenging in very different ways. UX Lab, when we built it, we had to, logistically, it was complicated. We had to bring in equipment from Europe. We had to fit out the rooms in the right way. And also, we have to get approvals from the buildings and things like this. So that was challenging from a logistical point of view. The consultancy, obviously, is the challenge at the beginning was selling the value of research and UX. That's changed now completely. Everyone realizes how important it is. So that's changed. But initially, it was about education of the value of it. That was the hard bit. And the SaaS product is with every SaaS product, you don't know how it's going to land. You spend ages building it and you keep tweaking, you keep optimizing. We're still doing that now. We still listen to client feedback and build it along. But with the SaaS product, it's not just about UX. It's business. It's how do you price it? How do you position it? What's your distribution model? How do you get it out in the market? So there's a lot around that, which was quite challenging, and to get right. And it's a case of trial and error. You try things out. If it doesn't work, close it very quickly and try something else.
Yeah, it's not something you can package up and look pretty, but the results of it are the most valuable part.
Exactly.
So again, conveying that to the end user is critical.
Correctly. The conveying, and especially for UserQ, the product, it's, if you get something wrong, like let's say your pricing's too high, that stops people coming. So then you have to identify that. Like, is it pricing or is it the platform? Is it the value proposition? What is it? And most of the time you don't know, So what we always do is speak to our customers, find out what they want, what is missing.
I was going to say, you need to UX yourself.
Yeah, that's what we do. So
incredible. So it's full circle at this point.
Yeah. And now our roadmap is just purely based on client feedback. What are clients saying? What do they want? And then we start building based on what clients want. So we've just focused on that now.
So Sudipt, how do you see Dubai shaping the future of user experience across MENA as a whole?
I actually think it's a very exciting place to be, Dubai. You can see even the recent announcements, what they're investing in, what they're focusing on, like AI. It's kind of brought the MENA onto the map as well. And a lot of companies here are investing in that. So I'm actually super excited about what the future holds for digital experiences. It's coupled with, let's say, government investment, companies investment, but also a lot of expats are now coming here as well. You see the population growth, you see the traffic growth, you can tell. So if you couple all this together, it's going to be amazing to see, and Dubai's always been at the forefront of innovation. So I'm sure that whatever's coming in the next few years is going to be the right way to go. I'm personally very excited with all, let's say, the AI advances that are out there, what customers are going to start demanding, what their behaviors are going to change, like living in a place like Dubai, and that's going to shape it for the rest of MENA as well. So yeah, I for one, I'm super excited about Dubai and where it's going in the future.
Yeah, we've already seen AI introduced at an earlier level into the curriculum and education.
Correct, exactly.
Is it your dream to see UX on there as a core
I
subject
do.
as well?
I would love to see that.
You can campaign for that.
Yeah. We're going to start teaching that.
Yeah, brilliant. So, Sudeep, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been such an interesting and insightful conversation. I've learned so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. To everyone watching, if you're building digital, this is your moment and the region is ready for it. In Dubai, growth has a pulse and GFD follows every beat. If you really liked this episode, like, subscribe and follow.